I would say that trust isn't really about certainty, because certainty is impossible. It's really impossible. But trust is about visibility. If you can see all those numbers, okay, here's how inflation is going to affect your cost of living. You're going to get cost of living raises over, so inflation is, downward pressure, cost of living is an upward pressure. How do those things all work together? Once you get that visibility, you have a lot more confidence and you can trust your decisions.
Welcome to the Next Level Women podcast, where powerhouse women break limits, claim their worth, and rise beyond good enough. I'm Jennifer Perri, a transformational coach, best-selling author, and fierce advocate for women reclaiming their power. After overcoming adversity from an abusive marriage to Guillain-Barré syndrome, I've made it my mission to help women rise above limiting beliefs, unlock their genius, and create lives of freedom, ease, and fulfillment. Each week, I sit down with 6- and 7-figure female entrepreneurs, executives, and visionaries who are rewriting the rules of success, building lasting impact, and owning their brilliance. Together, we'll share strategies, breakthroughs, and unfiltered conversations designed to inspire your clarity, confidence, and next level power. This isn't just another business podcast. It's where transformation meets legacy and where unstoppable women rise. Welcome to the Next Level Women podcast. Welcome to the Next Level Women podcast, where women stop waiting and start choosing what's next. I am your host, Jennifer Perri. I'm a reinvention strategist, a coach, an author, and CEO of Shero Life and Empowerment Coaching. Each week, I sit down with powerful women who are redefining success and building lives on their terms. This week's guest is Connie Howard, and the theme is seeing your future before you live it. And I love this whole topic. So welcome, Connie. How are you? It's good to see you again.
I'm super, Jennifer. Always great to see you. It's always a pleasure to spend time with Jennifer Perri.
I love that. Well, sit back for a second because I'm going to brag on you just for a little bit. And then I'm going to bring you into the conversation with me. But Connie is a CDFA, which is a Certified Divorce Financial Analyst, and the founder of What If Wealth, where she helps individuals navigate complex financial decisions with clarity and confidence. With a background in organizing and interpreting complex data for high-stakes business decisions, Connie now applies that expertise to personal finance, especially for individuals experiencing major life transitions. Her work centers on modeling real-life what-if scenarios so clients can understand the long-term impact of their choices before making them. So you're a very impressive lady, and I want people to understand. So when we first started to talk, I just want to give everybody a little background. I've had 20 plus years in finance and always talk to clients about, well, what if this happened and what if that happened? So when we met each other, I was so excited about what it is that you're doing and how you were helping people, not just in the divorce space, but just in life in general. Mm-hmm. So can I just get you to tell everybody a little bbit more about yourself and kind of what brought you up to what it is that you do now?
Yes, thank you so much. And again, delighted to be here. So thank you for having me. And you mentioned a bit of it. I've got 30 plus years of experience in business. I worked for early stage and startup companies, just, sort of luckily they all had big growth trajectories. And I spent a lot of time building financial models for the businesses. I would say over time, I've built hundreds upon hundreds, if not thousands of financial models. So businesses are always projecting sales and customer acquisition and staffing and cash flow, et cetera. And most businesses don't make big decisions without crunching the numbers, seeing what happens if this happens or that happens. How do those numbers unfold? So it was always in the back of my head that consumers arguably have much larger decisions that we make, our own finances, buying a house or when to retire or how to invest. And we do not have that same level of projection support. So I began the business by actually building a platform and a process for myself because I wanted to be able to manage my own finances more. I wanted more control and insight into my own finances and my own decisions. And then it very quickly turned into a business. So now I run What If Wealth and I help clients all over the country make financial decisions today by looking at what the potential outcome of those decisions are down the road.
And I love that you do that because when a client, especially in the financial space, when a client doesn't realize what life would look like if one of them passed away or
Right.
if they got a divorce or if something happened. And I think sometimes people are uncomfortable to have those conversations. So when someone like you steps in, I think that is, you are arming them with the best information that they possibly can have to know how to plan their life. And you
Yeah.
kind of touched on it a little bit about having a business background and what you saw unfold there. But was there kind of something that happened that really made you want to step in and say, you know what, I want to move from this corporate work into doing something that is more personal and working with people with What If Wealth?
There was actually a moment, and that moment was I worked with financial planners for years, and they've always done a very good job. I support that profession definitely. However, I got my annual financial plan, and as it is for many people, mine was 40 pages long
Hmm.
of Excel, just dense Excel. And there were really only a couple of variables. One was the age of our retirement. One was how the market performs. And then the third one was what I always got a kick out of what they called plan end. And by the way, Jennifer, my plan end used to be a couple pages away, and now it's no, now it's on page two. So you do have to grab life when you can. But anyway, I
Right.
would always ask questions like, okay, well, what if my house only appreciates at 3% versus the 4% in the plan? What if I spend a little more or a little less? What if I retire at this date versus that date? And they were not able to quickly turn those dials and, sort of push those levers and give me an answer. And so I built a platform that allows me to answer any of those questions absolutely immediately. And when I started to see the power of like, wow, if I just do this little change or make this little change, look what happens in the next 6, 8, 10 years. It's quite enlightening, number one, and very empowering. So that's what happened. That was the catalyst, that 40 pages of like, trying to understand how my own actions and decisions would affect the outcome.
And
It's
you're right. I can remember when they would come in and they would have a binder and it
yeah,
was like
yeah,
their financial plan. And I can't even tell you how many times people said to me they didn't feel comfortable with it because they felt like with that many pages, they were missing stuff. Like there
right,
were things that were hidden,
right.
or you sit down and even when clients used to come to me, we would have a meeting and then we would get back together and we'd have another meeting because I would have to go and run the numbers and do the analysis and do all that kind of stuff where what you're doing is I mean, you could look at something and immediately be able to, give answers, which is huge. And how has your own relationship with money and with decision making evolved through your work?
So that's very interesting. I've always been interested in finances. I educated myself. I paid attention. I was involved in my own finances. And even with that, I made a lot of financial mistakes. I really we should do another podcast on that. Don't let this happen to you.
Make it a series.
Right. And when I look back on it, it wasn't because I wasn't asking the right questions or I wasn't, smart, or I just was making decisions that I thought were best in the short term, and they probably were. But when you look and see how finances unfold over time, you have a very different viewpoint. And so how it's changed for me is, first of all, I really recognize how challenging it is to really get your arms around your own finances. And I'm actually much more forgiving of myself and supportive for other people that feel like they've made mistakes. We all make mistakes. And it's just important to assess where you are now and do the best you can moving forward.
Well, and
So yeah,
I see that a lot for women too, is
yeah,
that a lot of women that I work with, even in the coaching space, it's almost we start talking about we always talk about the things they like about what's going on in their life, and it's very easy and energetic. And but then when you talk about the things that you want to change, or you talk about the things that you feel like you've maybe not made the best choices in, you can see almost like this shame or this guilt, the eye goes down. And so I think what you're doing, especially with women, is so empowering and running those scenarios, especially for a woman who is navigating divorce.
Right.
And I know the CDFA designation is a newer thing for you, and I'm so excited to see that you have it.
Thank you.
But I think there's such power in that. And when you are modeling what if scenarios for people, and let me just kind of say, when you're modeling it for women, how does helping them see where they're at, where they're going, what's possible, how does it change the way that somebody leads themselves through a decision?
Yeah. You mentioned earlier just again about the complexity or the denseness of those reports. And I, the, just as I'm sort of saying on a practical level, the documentation or the reports that I put in front of my clients are clean and simple and clear. And there's charts and graphs and, highlights and observations. It's very, very different than a typical output. But I wanted to mention also, everything is through the lens of the two most important consumer financial measures, which are net cash flow and net worth. And I
Perfect.
look at everything with a 10-year view. And I can tell you, Jennifer, 95% of the time that I put those numbers in front of, especially a woman client, it's the first time they've ever seen it presented in that way. I think women mostly are very on top. We're on top of our budgets. We know what we can spend every month. We pay a lot of the bills, but in terms of the bigger picture of how net worth is going to evolve over time, which of course is investments improving and growing every year, bills, mortgages, and car payments coming down, the value of your house going up. There's all these puts and takes that really have should have a positive effect over time. So when somebody looks at it for the first time, and then I show them, okay, if you do this small thing every month, here's what the ripple effects will be. It's really quite astonishing, and it's a big aha moment. And when you're looking at it through the lens of the big decisions of a divorce, so many of those decisions are coming at you, sort of fast and furious. You're already in a traumatized, overwhelmed state. And many women, just not speaking universally, but many women just want it to be done. Let's just get this over with. And so I really bring them to a state where we can look at things and take a deep breath and make sure that you're making a decision today that is best for you and your family over the next decade.
Well, and women in divorce, because we both work in the divorce space, especially, with me being a coach and looking at the things that are happening, you also are under a time crunch. You
Right,
are not only traumatized, overwhelmed, you have everybody throwing things at you from a legal perspective, and the ex may be kind of trying to pull you back in and saying, "Oh no, you're not going to get the kids and you're not going to get spousal support and you're not going to get all these things." You're right. There are so many women that will just throw in the towel, and
right,
then they don't realize how it affects them. And a lot of times I've seen it with my own clients. They'll be like, "Well, the kids, there's child support until they're 18." Oh, great. Well, what about you? Like, what about like the assets when the kids are going to grow, they're going to be gone. What about your retirement? What about
right,
what's next for you? And
right,
as a mother, you're looking at, well, as long as my kids are taken care of. But okay, but what about you in the middle of
right,
all that? So it's
right.
good to know that you're advocating for them, I'm advocating for them. And so many women don't realize that there are people like you and me that are out there. They have no idea.
I know it's very true. So many of my clients really had both of our professions, Jennifer,
Yeah.
divorce coach and then the CDFA, really they're relatively new. And yet I cannot imagine a client going through a divorce honestly without either one of our seats on the team, because
Right.
we right. And so yeah, it's interesting. And I do work with a fair number of women that are post-divorce. So the
Hmm.
settlement is done, the dust has settled. They're sort of picking up the pieces and saying, okay, what happens now? And the sort of the stressful part of that is, let's say they decided to keep the house. They have a lot of emotional attachment. The kids are comfortable there. 6 months or a year after the divorce, they're realizing, wow, I'm over my skis. I
Hmm.
really cannot afford this house. And that's another big upheaval. And if that modeling had been done before the fact, as hard as that might have been to step up to and face, it's probably better to do that earlier rather than later.
Oh, for sure it is. Absolutely. And when you are working with women that are navigating just any transition, not just divorce, but maybe they've made
Hmm.
a career change or, I know a lot of women who are leaving corporate to come in
Hmm.
and start businesses. What do you see as one of the major things financially that they overlook?
Well, not to, sort of just repeat myself, but it is the long term again. Somebody might be able to do the budget and look at it and say, okay, I can this will work for me. But it's not the first month or the first quarter or the first year. It's the long term. I just worked with a really interesting client, a couple in their late 40s, young kids, both high power demanding jobs, and they felt that they were losing the time. They were always at work. They would come home, the house is dark, nothing's cooked, the kids are a little in disarray. So we worked together to see if one of them could quit their job and what that would do to
Oh,
their
wow.
finances over time. And we really worked, what would the investment returns be? How conservative are they? How, or how, what kind of risk are they willing to take? What budget items will go away, childcare and nannies and camps, et cetera, if somebody was home? How many less times a week would they go out to dinner,
Right.
or have order food in? And so again, unlike a lot of financial planning, this is very, very personal. If a client knows that they need to have a new roof in 2 years, that goes right into their plan, and they can see that that expenditure is coming up, and that they can prepare for it. So it's not generic in any way.
No, it doesn't, and it doesn't sound like it because I've been privy to the plans that get made, and a lot of times, people are looking at retirement and they're planning for retirement and how to support themselves and how to do all those things. But weddings happen, vacations
Right,
happen, roofs happen,
right.
cars happen, all of those things happen, and I don't see that as generally worked into somebody's overall financial plan. It's more or less,
Mhm.
oh, this happened. We're going to have a little bit of an emergency fund, but why not have it all built in
Right.
so there's not anything to worry about
Yeah.
whatsoever. I
Well,
think
when
that's, yeah.
I see, of course, spousal support almost always has a time limit. Child support definitely does. And so that's something that I put right into the plan. You can see, okay, the next 4 years, this income is bolstered by spousal support. Child number one ages out in 6 years. Child number two ages out in 7 years. So let's look at years 8 and 9, because that's going to be, you have 8 or 9 years to prepare for it, but just understand that your cash flow is going to be affected. And so it's very, very helpful for people to get that in their mind and say, oh, okay, what do I need to do to prepare myself? What skills do I need? Or what should I be working for in my job, my career, to prepare for that loss of income? No
Well,
surprises. I don't like surprises.
no, and the worst part is when you have a surprise at the moment of your life you're getting ready to age into, you
Right,
can't you can't be like 65, like, okay, Jennifer, I want to start saving for retirement.
right,
Well, you should have started saving for retirement in your 30s and your 40s and your 50s. And the earlier you can do it, the better it is. And the less expensive it is to try to play catch up.
right.
Now let me ask you, so what have you learned about trust through this work? Not only work like trust with your clients and those you're working with, but being able to trust yourself in what you do.
Um, So for my clients, on the client side, I would say that trust isn't really about certainty, because certainty is impossible. It's really impossible. But trust is about visibility. If you can see all those numbers, okay, here's how inflation is going to affect your cost of living. Here's what we're projecting for you you're going to get cost of living raises over, so inflation is a, downward pressure, cost of living is an upward pressure. How do those things all work together? Once you get that visibility, you have a lot more confidence and you can trust your decisions. For myself, This is kind of interesting. I started out as a real, I would say, technician. I was always, again, math oriented, and I love a good Excel sheet.
I don't.
Um,
I don't.
I know. See,
Takes a
that's why we're
special
good.
kind of person that likes
Well, that's why we're good counterparts because
Yeah.
you've got the client dynamics and the, interpersonal dynamics and communication. And but anyway, I really have always been a technician. But I have really learned that um, for my clients to have trust in me, I've also had to become a financial coach. And it
Mhm.
didn't, it's not that it came unnaturally to me, but I started out very focused on the numbers. And then I became more and more adept at listening to what was really going on with the client and making sure that it was woven in. I had a client recently, just as a total aside, mention that they had a personal off the book loan to her husband's uncle. It was nowhere papered. It wasn't in any financial documents. It was a very loose arrangement, but it bothered her.
Mm.
So I heard that and I worked it into her plan and showed her with one of her what ifs over the next 6 years, she could get that paid off with a certain amount of every single month paying a certain amount. So I think that that is what leads to trust in the process is that, again, it's not generic. I'm really listening and delivering something back that's quite personalized for my
Well, that's the
clients.
thing. I mean, it sounds like everything that you do is very customized.
Hmm.
Now, so explain to to those who are listening to you with what if wealth, you are not the wealth manager, you are not the product placer, you are the liaison essentially, correct?
That's exactly right. And that was a really just a intentional decision. I have a very clean, defined swim lane. I am taking all of the numbers, I am modeling out the potential outcomes based on the assumptions that I work on with the client, and I present the data back. And I absolutely can give guidance or, again, highlights like watch out for this coming, or here's what
Sure.
I see something here that I want to have be on your radar. But in terms of what is best for the client, there's the financial component, there's the math component, there's also the emotional component, there's what somebody's willing to take on, etc. So I'm neutral in that way. And then I also do not take assets under management. And that's a whole nother skill set, a lot of discipline and education, etc. And it also keeps me neutral. It is immaterial to me whether somebody puts money into paying down bills or investments, as an
Hmm.
example. I give them the information and they can make the decision that's best for them.
I think that's the best overall for the client
Hmm.
because I've seen CDFAs and other not just CDFAs, but other people who are coaches wearing multiple hats and then moving from a advisory or coaching capacity then into management. And I think it doesn't keep you neutral. I'm not saying that everybody, does
Hmm.
it is not in the client's best interest, but I
Hmm.
think as a neutral party, like you said, you're just there to customize things for them and show them the what if scenarios and help them figure out the best thing for them, not indirectly the best thing for you or the
Right.
company that you
Yeah.
represent. That gets a
Yeah.
little those waters get a little muddied, and
They
that's just
can. They can.
that's not a good place to be, I think, for some people.
And
um
I think people feel it. I mean,
oh, for sure.
I think people feel it, and so there's something kind of like a real sigh of relief of just like here's all the things that I'm seeing, and here are the positives and the sort of the pros and cons of this path. Here are the pros and cons of that path, and then somebody can take a deep breath and really feel what's best for them. So there's, again, the math component and the emotional piece.
So when you're sitting with someone and you're showing them the what if scenarios and you're answering questions and it's really dialed into them, can you like visibly see a shift in their
It's
demeanor?
actually, yes, that is, it's the almost the most rewarding part of what I do
Hmm.
because I literally just had a call yesterday with a client of mine, and we're on her second round of settlement options. And of course, every underneath it all, when anybody's looking at a settlement option, is the question, are they going to be okay, and is their family going to be okay, right? That's
Hmm.
the underlying question. And And it's really a nice moment to say, okay, I take a very conservative look. If this is, I want to not say worst case scenario, but if this is, this is a very conservative output, if this is what happens, here's how this is going to flow through for you. And to have that number be something that she could live with and feel
Mhm.
okay with and be okay with it's really a great moment.
It is. And she
Yeah.
feels during one of the, I mean, going through divorce, I've navigated it. It's one of the times in your life, if not one of the hardest times in your life, that you feel so out of control
Yeah.
of the situation and you are overwhelmed and you have a bunch of people that are telling you what worked for them or who you should use or what you should do. But when you are armed with your own information, your own numbers,
Yeah.
your own outcomes, there's so much power in that. Then
I
she can make the best decision for her and her family.
I could not agree more. One of the things that I do is really equip my clients
Mm.
with to go into a mediation or to go into into the into a courtroom with exactly why they're asking for what they're asking for and specifically what they're asking for, not just I want this much money or 50% of the marital assets. I want this percent of this account. I want this percent of this account. I believe that the house should be sold and the asset should be split. When somebody walks in with that level of detail and backup, first of all, they are much more confident. Their
Hmm.
attorney is much more confident, and that just sprinkles its way through the entire proceeding. So when you walk in, my dad would always say, one person with a solid number is worth, 100 opinions.
Right,
And
right.
so
Very
I'm
well said.
really equipping my clients with when they walk into mediation, they know what they're asking for and why. And it's astonishing how much better those mediations proceed or court cases proceed when you are armed with that information.
Well, now the podcast is called Next Level Women. So we always talk to women who are looking and striving to move into the next level of their
Yeah,
life and their business. And you had mentioned that it's about being a little bit more visible and a little bit more direct with your messaging. What does
yeah.
that look like? What do you need to accomplish to move into that next level of Connie?
Oh, okay. Well, that's a good question. Something has evolved in my business in the last 6 months, and it is visibility. I hadn't really thought about it that way, so that's such a good. So thank you for having me look at it that way. But what I'm doing is I'm pushing and driving team strategy meetings for my clients. So as a CDFA, when I first started, I was always behind the scenes, sort of again, behind the scenes, giving the information and having my client go forward with it. I'm now creating team strategy meetings where I'm working with the attorney, the coach, the client and myself so that we are all on the same page and all going after the same goals for the next whatever time. We have a mediation meeting in 2 weeks. Who's doing what to make sure that we're prepped for that? And that's been a new level of visibility for me for sure, because again, I've been behind the scenes with my green cap on doing the math. And now I'm front and center with the attorney, and I actually end up in some ways pushing for things. Again, I'm working with a client right now, and we're waiting for several important subpoena results and valuation results. And when you are in a team meeting with everybody in the team, it's sort of there's then there's a deadline. The next team meeting is in 10 days, and this is the information that I need to be able to do the models to give to my client to come to court. So it's a new level, and I'm enjoying it, and I think it's extremely effective for clients.
Oh my gosh, it's like you've got your team of Avengers. Like
Right,
everybody's kind you're in the middle and you've got just these people that are around you that are communicating. Like I back, having had a career in finance and you're trying to talk to a CPA or you're trying to talk to
right,
maybe another wealth advisor. Everybody's got their books shut, their phones are not answering. They don't want that. They feel like
right.
you're going to try to steal something. It's not about you're just trying to support the client the best that you can, and you're trying to be open and understanding everybody's role. So the
Right.
fact that you're doing that, that is amazing.
Yeah,
And
it's
I'm
been
glad that
really,
they're working really well. That's
yeah,
awesome.
thank you. It's been a neat development, and it's almost something that I'm now presenting as part of the process because, every one of us has a role. I can't, I have such respect for your role, Jennifer, the dynamics, the getting clients ready for communication. I'm speaking specifically in the divorce world, but getting clients ready for, how to equip them to be prepared to be able to communicate effectively, not lose their cool, not get angry, just keep to the, stick to the script.
Right, right.
And here's the emotional script, and I have the financial script, and then the attorney has the legal script. It's quite powerful.
That's awesome. We should do it. We should do a workshop together. I'm just sitting here thinking of all these
Yeah.
ideas that we should do. Now, do you have something that you're super excited that you're working on? I mean, these team meetings sound incredible. You should probably create some model that people can follow. But do you have anything else that you're working on that you're super excited you'd like to share?
Okay, well, this is really interesting, and totally not has anything to do with what we're doing here. But my sister has created and directed an independent film
Oh, wow.
set in New Orleans. It is a marvelous, colorful, funny, delightful movie, and I'm helping her to get it launched.
That is
So
exciting.
isn't that great? That probably not the answer you might have been thinking about, or me either,
Hey,
but
if you're excited about it and you're going to share it, like you have to make sure that that you get me the information so however people can watch it or support it, or it's all about supporting women that are doing awesome things in the
well, that's
world.
exactly right. So and to me, what's so interesting about it is just the way that life unfolds. I would have never thought 3 or 4 years ago that I would be sitting here talking to you about what if modeling for women going through transition. It just was not in my mind. And yesterday, I spent a fair amount of time with Sony Music trying to learn about how to get licensing rights for some of the songs that my sister Jane is using in her movie. So, life is rich and life unfolds in ways that you would never expect. And that's to me the greatest gift of in a way getting older and being open to these new experiences.
I love all that. Well, we're going to get ready to wrap up, Connie. And can
Are
you tell everybody, how they can get in touch with
okay.
you?
www.what-ifwealth.com, or you can also always email me. In fact, I love an email, so get in touch personally. And we put that in the show notes, Jennifer?
Yes, I will. Absolutely. I love every time we get an opportunity to chat. I know we're going to be doing more things together, but
Me too.
Connie, thank you so much for all that you're doing for women, for people in general, just knowing what the future holds and letting them make decisions before they actually live it. I think that's incredible, and I'm so grateful for you. And as you move on with your day, I'd like for you to remember this: the woman you're becoming is built on the decisions that you make next. Until we meet again, keep doing the work, keep choosing yourself, and keep rising into the life that's calling you. And I'll be here every step of the way to guide you to your next level. Bye, everyone.